and Scott Libby.
I am present.
Thank you.
All right, the first order of business is approval of the minutes from our December 9th meeting. I don't know if anyone had any comments from the board on those meetings, on those minutes, or a motion.
I move that we adopt the minutes from the December 3rd meeting as presented.
And do we have a second? All right, first and second, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
It looked unanimous to me.
Thank you.
All right, move on to the main order of business tonight. It's a public hearing for the Thompson Meadows Solar Station, LLC. Revisiting this from our earlier December meeting. And I don't know, are there representatives in the room with you guys?
Yes.
Rod? Okay.
Yeah, he is. James Lowry is here from Fuss & O'Neill Engineering.
All right. First off, I want to thank you guys for addressing the comments we had at the last meeting. And I think if you could go through that memo real quick as far as the sound, the noise, the rights to Branch Road, and the laydown and parking areas, that would be great. And then we can open up for discussion with the board.
I have a PDF to share that he is prepared for the board for his presentation tonight. So I'm going to share my screen here. Let me know if you can see this, everybody. Okay, so Jamie's going to start talking.
Good evening. Again, James Lowry with Fuss & O'Neill, engineer for the project. Flip on to the next. Yep, so as Mr. Libby noted, the items that we are prepared to discuss tonight are in response to the previous board comments: sound, legal rights to Branch Road and the contractor, parking and laydown areas. And then we have received some technical comments from the town's peer review engineer, Tom Saucier, and we had gotten a memo back to Rod, and I brought hard copies for board members for tonight of just a few issues that we were able to address and wanted to just button everything up tonight as best as possible. So we can flip on to the next slide if we can. So again, we'll start with sound. Through the course of the DEP's review, they had asked some questions to us on the sound assessment. We were actually at the time of the previous planning board meeting, we're in the process of working with the sound consultant to update their assessment. We've gotten that back into the DEP for their continued review. We sent a copy to Rod with our response to the planning board comments back just before Christmas. The crux of their revisions were to provide a little more detail on some of the ancillary noise components to the project. And then through our coordination, we updated the detail of one of the pieces of equipment, a battery storage transformer and inverter pad, to effectively consolidate the inverter piece of equipment, the DC inverter into one piece of equipment. And they also provided a table at the end of the report to show minimum distances which we comply with the equipment around the site. So not sure if the board has any questions on that topic before we move on to.
Just one quick question. Trying to see on the plan where the inverter pads are. From what I could tell, on the eastern portion of the development, it's kind of right in the middle there, that rectangle.
That's right in here.
So it's that.
I'll I'll do
You
that.
can't see.
Yeah, go ahead, you do it, and I'll follow yours.
So, one right in there,
One in there, okay,
one, up over in this area,
yeah,
another couple up over here, one there and one here.
one there, okay,
One down here by the substation, and that one is the closest one to a property line, but it still is sufficiently far enough away to meet those criteria.
okay, so I guess my first question, in that it did seem that was the only location that was a potential issue. So are there one or two inverters at that pad?
There will only be one at each pad now.
Okay, and with that, that's more than 150 feet from the property line.
Correct, yeah.
Okay, and then the only other question was the substation. What is in the substation? I mean, are there any?
Ultimately, the noise generating equipment in the substation would be some HVAC equipment.
Okay, so those are within the 90 or 120 that they need to be then, if they're the standard HVACs.
Yes.
Okay.
And then, if they had to go to a quiet one because of the proximity, that could be the case.
Okay. All right. Did anyone else have questions on the sound noise issue? All right, let's move to the next one.
Okay. So the next is with regard to the legal access of Branch Road and using that for the project. And ultimately, we provided the memorandum of lease for your review. That was included with the original application material to demonstrate right title or interest, but we included it again, as well as a legal opinion from the applicant's attorney, which, to summarize, a couple of things, that the applicant or the leaseholder, the easement holder, and thereby the leaseholder, has the ability to improve the easement as necessary, as long as it's done in a reasonable manner. And then it goes on to articulate that the easement can be used, for commercial uses, even if that use wasn't contemplated at the time of the easement. So it was their conclusion that, in their opinion, that the easement is, that the project is authorized through the granting of the easement to utilize Branch Road.
All right, did anyone have questions on the Branch Road easement?
Nobody here, so.
Okay. All right, let's move on to the parking laydown area.
So the three circles on the plan, this one and this one are the two primary design contractor laydown areas that we had included in the plans initially. Through the questions that came up from the board, we wanted to show a third potential area. This would be more of a temporary laydown area, in a general location, but it's an existing cleared portion of the site. If you want to scroll to the next sheet. So that's right there at the entrance to the project. It's about the white outline of the area here is about 1.5 acres, and that allows for a number of parking spaces. We fit about 40 right in this area, which a contractor that the applicant is working with estimated somewhere around 30 that they would be looking at. Plus, then that allows for a large laydown area in and around there, so trucks, especially in the beginning phases of the project, can come in and drop materials right there to then be moved around within the site as needed. So we felt, and this is more of a, would be a temporary, as you noticed on the previous slide, this is in an area that an array will eventually occupy. But the thought is that the construction of those two arrays will likely occur at the close to the conclusion of the project construction. So this would be a very good area to use as laydown until we get to that point. It's relatively flat. The grade shouldn't be an issue right in that area. And they could utilize that location or something very similar, in proximity to that to have as a parking and laydown. Ultimately, the contractor that we were discussing recommended about an acre of laydown area for every 10 megawatts of DC power generated. So that would be about 2 to 2.5 acres of laydown area. This area plus the 2 that we had originally shown on the plan are just shy of 3 acres worth of laydown area. So we feel that would be sufficient.
Yeah, it looks like a great improvement on it, especially, with the parking, but also the kind of preliminary staging area, like you said, get a lot of the gear in here, then maybe move stuff over to the other laydown areas as needed. Seems like it would work well for you. Did anyone have questions or comments to make on this portion?
Where's the second laydown area? Well, I understand where that one is, because I finally figured it out. Where's your other laydown area?
So there's the 3 circles there.
Oh, okay.
So the other 2 would be more, focused as they get into those 2 different parts of the project.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Anyone else? I just had one other item, and it's great you've got this in here, and I also think, in your memo you noted that you request that maybe the final layout and design of any temporary laydown area be allowed as a conditional of approval, which I think is something we need to have in there, in that we cite Exhibit 1, or whatever exhibit this is. Yeah, Exhibit 1. As a kind of preliminary plan for it, and the final plan for the laydown area will be finalized with town staff during the pre-construction meeting, or prior to construction as suggested.
Okay.
I also had one other question.
This meeting is being recorded.
For my notes, there was also a question about the traffic. I don't know if we meant a traffic study, or if there was a traffic count and kind of the sight lines coming in and out of Old Lisbon Road. Is that something you've talked with Rod about, or?
Yeah, so you're going to address that. He did a traffic movement template that will show.
We had one of the technical comments was a turning template, request to do a turning template out of Old Lisbon Road.
All right.
Do you want him to continue?
I'll let you keep going then.
Okay.
So ultimately, Mr. Saucier had generally four comments that he had made. We got them in an email on Friday of last week. He asked about, we had referenced in our previous reply some regrading of certain areas to get slopes within the arrays down into the 12 to 15% range. We had shown them on the plan. He asked about that and essentially was articulating that those had been shown on the plans. The second comment was with regard to one of the laydown areas. We have a portion of it is proposed to be gravel. Another portion is proposed to be out of a wood chip organic material, enough to provide a good stable surface for certain items without being a full-blown gravel surface. And you asked about essentially the removal of that mulch layer and replacement with topsoil. And we've requested in our letter to see if that would be allowed to assess that area once construction is over. See what type of vegetation is starting to naturally grow in the area. That was our intent, was it would be an organic area that vegetation would ultimately naturally type of reestablish itself when it became somewhat dormant. And, ultimately we're asking for the flexibility to allow that to revegetate naturally if it's already starting to. Ultimately, if that's not taking, certainly, at that time, we would remove the mulch layer if no vegetation is starting to take, and re-stabilize that area as necessary per the erosion and sediment control plan. So the third comment that he had did pertain to the traffic moving in and off of, this is Old Lisbon Road, right in here, going into Branch Road. And he had asked that we do an auto turn to demonstrate that not a full-size WB 67, the biggest of tractor trailers, but the next size down, a 62, that refers to the wheelbase, be able to make the maneuver into the site and around. And, in the presentation right here, I only have this one movement to demonstrate, but we do have, Rod has the PDF of the other movements that I had provided earlier today.
You want me to
Sure.
share this?
Mhm. And then that would be turning the next one over. Yes, sir. Yep. So. So this again is Old Lisbon Road right here with Branch Road, and this is the WB 62 coming into the site. This over here is that same truck leaving the site to the, that would be to the left. So as you can see here in the shaded area that the travel path of the truck, stays within the confines of the gravel on Branch Road and the pavement on Old Lisbon Road. Now scroll down to the. And then this is the truck. We did widen this radius out as part of our very, last minute change. But this truck maneuver comes in, stays on the gravel, and then down here would leave the site and staying on the gravel. And again, we did provide an updated plan that has this radius widened out to accommodate that. So now scroll on to the next. So this maneuver coming out of Branch Road onto Old Lisbon was a little tighter with the WB 62. The travel path of the trailer came through this area, in very close proximity to the property corner. This truck that we have shown here is a WB 40. So through the previous coordination with staff, we had prepared a traffic control plan. So plan to address this issue, that a larger, the largest of vehicles that would enter the site may have difficulty accommodating that turn there and might have to turn left out of there. So we've updated, we've addressed that in the traffic control narrative, so that if the truck has to come out and go to the left, right here, that then they, because of some concerns of that access between Old Lisbon Road and Lewiston Road, that they would then be prohibited from turning left there and would have to make a right turn, go down. If they were trying to get to the highway, would have to go down and turn around and come back, so that they wouldn't pose a traffic hazard at that point. And then the final question that Tom had was with regard to the temporary laydown area and how it, and if it would be counted as a developed area from a DEP stormwater standpoint. And it's our opinion that that it would be treated very similarly to the areas under the arrays, which they are not counting as developed area, because the criteria there is that if you mow that area and let it grow back into a meadow condition, an unkept meadow condition, that's not counted per their definition as developed. So that's how that laydown area that we showed right there at the entrance would ultimately be covered and with vegetation, and it wouldn't be in a maintained nature. So that's what we had in response to Tom, and ultimately we thank the board for considering the application. We think this is a great project to provide critical clean energy infrastructure through the state and meet the state's and local goals for more clean energy that we've noted in our previous meeting. We think that the siting of this project is very good. Have done our best to comply with the local requirements and are still working through the state and Corps of Engineer process to get things wrapped up from those standpoints.
All right, thank you. Anyone on the board have some questions or comments on the those 4 technical issues that he addressed? Not seeing any.
Oh, no.
Larry does.
You weren't looking at me, Scott.
Yep, you're on mute, Scott.
How many truck trips are you talking about generally?
I mean, it will be more activity during construction. Ultimately, once the project is developed, the
Then there won't be
traffic
any.
into the site will be, I mean, very, very limited. I don't even know if it would be maybe a vehicle or 2 coming in, once or so a week.
Right.
So,
But when you're talking about the WB 62s and
yep,
I see a WB 67 on one of the plans.
it should all be 62s, but that was the intent. It may be a typo.
Oh, okay, it does say 67, but
Oh, okay.
they should be 62s.
Yes.
And then you got the WB 40. I didn't know how many. The construction phase, what are we
It's tough
talking
to
about?
say, at that point, the WB 62 is a pretty sizable tractor trailer
It is.
truck coming in there. So ultimately, it would depend on whatever trucking company is bringing materials to the site.
Yeah.
I don't think that the logging trucks get to that size by any means. So, I think that level of vehicle coming into the site would be fairly limited, but it's tough to say until you know exactly what trucking company is going to be bringing equipment in and what size of their vehicles
Okay.
it would be.
So not even a ballpark as far as like how often or number of trips per day or anything else then?
I mean, I would say, you know, as you get into construction, I mean, I wouldn't want to generate a huge guess, but, you know, I would think that it would be fairly, active as you're into the construction phase of things. You would have some different, you wouldn't have a ton, you know, there wouldn't be multiple ones probably within, you know, every hour throughout the day, because ultimately you wouldn't have room to then put all that equipment. They've got to stage their deliveries to accept incoming material to be able to then take it, move it to where it needed to be and start the construction process and then start to accept additional material into the site.
You didn't anticipate needing an MDOT traffic movement permit?
No, not at all. You know, definitely you wouldn't have a peak hour type of issue with something
Okay,
like
so
this.
we have no MDOT.
No, not in any way, because, you know,
Okay.
that's for that's all, you know, very peak hour driven. And this, you know, would not be the case.
Okay, yeah, because there could be a lot of traffic on 196 at certain
Yep.
times of the day and
Yeah.
out of the other roads too, so.
How,
Okay.
how long is the construction phase? Do you have any ballpark idea?
We had estimated it through working with the applicant, I believe it was in the 8 to 10 month timeframe, you know, from clearing through to construction, end of construction.
And I have follow-up, that's okay. I would assume that there's going to be a time frame where the big stuff's going to be coming in as you get going. And do you have any idea how long that will sort of last?
No, and like you know, like I mentioned, I think it'll be through the life of the construction as materials are brought in and they're working to do the arrays. Of course, in the beginning, most of the work will be the clearing and the logging, and then you get into the road construction. And then at that point, probably several months into the project, you would get into the heavy part of the array construction.
All set, Carrie? Larry, did you have any other questions?
I'm all set right now, Scott, thank you.
Okay. Dan?
I'm all set, Scott.
Okay. How about you, Ron?
All set?
Okay. Yeah, I just had just a couple quick follow-ups from what you had noted. So in the traffic plan, right, there's some kind of plan there that when those larger trucks are leaving Branch Road, they've got to take a left, then they've got to take a left onto Lewiston Road. Basically, you're not taking a right off of Old Lisbon, the southern end, correct?
Yeah, that would be the intent, to take a right and not take a left and cross traffic there.
So the large trucks are going to be able to take a right at the southern end of Old Lisbon Road? Because that seems like a pretty tight right-hand turn.
Yeah, and we could revisit that if there was a concern there.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like that hopefully you'll be using the 40-foot trucks and not the larger ones. And if they've got to go north, they go north as soon as they get on Old Lisbon Road and take a right. And if they've got to go south, they go south on Old Lisbon Road and take a left.
Okay.
I mean, that corner, the southern part of Old Lisbon Road, and you know, with River Road meeting up there is just can be a mess at times. Just to clarify, this is in a plan. I didn't see the traffic plan. Maybe it was in the original.
It's a narrative. It's a narrative, not a site plan.
Okay. But as far as a narrative, it spells out kind of the size of trucks, where they're going.
And a number of conditions, including no staging on Old Lisbon Road, things like that to make sure that traffic on Old Lisbon Road is not negatively impacted by the project.
Okay.
Yeah,
And then
Scott.
you also noted about the grading of steep slopes. I guess we didn't really get into that, or I don't remember getting into that a lot at the last meeting. We did talk about the need for a third party inspections during construction, which my understanding is the main DEP takes care of that with the SLOTA process, right? It's not something that we need to include.
Correct. We anticipate a third-party inspector to be a condition of the DEP's approval.
You can condition that as well, Scott, but that is anticipated through DEP.
Okay, so it's anticipated by DEP, but maybe we do put it in as a condition so we know that it's happening. Great.
Well, and I'd say that that's been a condition on other projects. We just don't have we don't have that permit, in hand.
Right. Well, we conditioned that smaller project last time with that, so I think we can do it for a larger project too, just in case. Then the last thing, and just to clarify, when you said that the temporary laydown area will not be included in the developed area, that was strictly for stormwater reasons, and not, it is still included in the disturbed area going towards the habitat mitigation fee, correct?
Yeah, that is correct. Yes, that question was solely from a stormwater perspective.
Okay.
So that was our interpretation of it. But we have not, that area is ultimately, it's in the, a part of the project that will have an array built over that or most of it. So it's definitely part of the overall project area from the town's habitat mitigation fee.
Okay, and just one last one, and following up on the habitat mitigation fee, in the original proposal, it noted that the numbers are based on information from March 12th of 2020. I assume, maybe this is a question for Rod, that this gets recalculated based on when this is approved, correct?
Yeah, I mean, if there's any change from that date, then yes, they should recalculate any change from that date.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if the acreage has changed, but real estate wise, a lot of things have changed since March of 2020. So I don't know if the acreage per acre price
Yeah, we'll
is
make
modified.
sure that the assessed value gets to the applicant.
And I believe either you or Andrew at some point a month or so ago had sent over the new number.
Okay.
And I think it was consistent with the previous number.
Yeah. All right, that's all I had. I don't know if we've got anyone there from the public or anyone online from the public, but I guess we'll open it up for any public comments and questions.
I do not see any chat or raised hands, Scott. And there is nobody raising their hand here from the public.
All right. Going once, going twice, going three times.
Only
All right.
two people watching on YouTube.
All right, so closing the public comment part of this hearing. Any other comments from the board or questions from the board for further clarification? Larry, I can't see you, so I don't know.
Yeah. Sorry, Scott. I did have a couple of questions. One, I lost it, but I thought there was something, Rod, that you had said there would be a motion or a formal waiver application with regard to 22560, December 3.
Yeah,
Do we have that formal waiver application? That I have-
I believe that was submitted originally, yeah.
Oh, okay, because the
Yeah.
memo of December 3rd says a formal waiver application has not been provided.
I think it was submitted, in either our response or just before the meeting,
Yeah.
when things were,
Well, either, so the waiver application, they came and discussed that with you at the last meeting.
Yeah.
I think you all gave them a nod and it was pretty
Okay.
clear as to what that was about.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that we weren't, that I wasn't missing anything
Yeah.
there. And the other question that I have is, it looks like the surety doesn't kick in under, what I saw before anyway, until 15 years into the project, 15 years into the running.
no. The DEP will require surety to be posted, prior to construction.
Oh, okay.
And then it gets reviewed and potentially updated at year 15.
Okay, and I guess I just read something in the application. And it's okay, so with regard to the surety, is the town's interest in that coextensive with Maine DEP? Or do we have also an interest and to be a co-beneficiary of the surety?
I mean, the surety that DEP requires is based on their permitting. We feel like what we do when the projects don't go through the site location process, we then have that same language DEP has essentially for decommissioning. So as I understand it, it's a redundant piece that DEP will hold the surety instead of the town.
Is there any benefit to having the town also just as a co-beneficiary of that same surety?
I don't know. I would, in my opinion, is I'd prefer the DEP to enforce and manage that surety than the town.
That's all I have, Scott.
All right, Larry. One question, and that back to Rod, it kind of brings up what Larry was saying. I know in the findings of fact that you sent along, it noted both the waiver of 225, 60, 19 G3, the surety for decommissioning, and also mentioned the finding of no reasonable alternative for the road. Are those things that we need to have a motion separately, or can they be combined with the motion on the project as a whole?
I think one motion will satisfy that requirement. And the findings help that, I think.
Okay. Any other questions from Zoom world or the real world? All right. Do we have a motion?
I can't make motions like you, Scott.
I'm not sure I can make a motion as sitting chair.
Actually, you can, Scott, but that's okay.
I mean, I'm willing to, if that's okay, Rod.
I can start a motion if you wish.
Well, oh, there you go, Larry. Did you have your hand up again? I just couldn't see you.
No, I did not.
Okay, go for it.
I move that the site plan application for Topsham Meadows Solar Station to be located on tax map R2 lots meets the applicable standards in the site plan review ordinance, chapter 175, and the zoning ordinance, chapter 225, including the specific performance standards for solar energy conversion systems, with the staff recommended conditions set out in the December 3, 2021 staff memo. And that the board specifically adopts the findings set forth in a set of draft findings dated January 10, 2022. And based on those findings of fact, that we make the following conclusions: that chapter 175-8 site plan performance standards A through 5 have been adequately met. Chapter 175-9-12 specific performance standards have been adequately met. And chapter 225 zoning articles 7, 8, and 9 have been adequately met.
I would add the shoreland section in your motion, and
Where do they find the shoreline section?
it's in the draft findings, under one of the findings, that section. That you're granting a shoreline permit.
Yeah, number 8.
The applicant has proposed access road within the resource protection area, the shoreline zone, and that we find that no reasonable alternative exists, as the placement of the access road outside of the resource protection area would have direct impacts on wetland resources. And that we adopt the other draft findings in that January 10, 2022 memo.
Second.
And just one
More.
quick item. We did discuss a couple additional conditions. One that we mentioned was third-party inspection of construction site to be finalized in discussion with the planning staff at the pre-construction meeting. And also one that is the temporary laydown area, parking and construction trailer will be located within the project area, similar to as depicted in Exhibit 1 from 1/6/2022, and that the final layout and design would be approved by town staff prior to construction.
Second.
Scott? I accept those modifications to my motion.
Yeah, Scott, can you hear me?
Yeah,
I also like to put, I don't know if you guys have got this or not, but there's a traffic control plan. And I'd like to add that to the list. It goes, traffic requirements from 1 to 14.
yeah, I think that's a good idea, Ron. Larry, were you gonna accept that into your motion?
Yes, I accept that into my motion.
You got that, Pat?
I got it.
Okay.
Okay, so now we have conditions 1 through 14 as discussed on this recording and captured by Patty. Do we have a second to that motion?
Second.
And one technical item, Scott?
Yeah.
Sorry. Just
No.
want to cite, for the shoreline permit, I want to cite the correct, it was on page 1 of the memo, but 225/19/15 H4. I just want to make sure that that's the allowance you're allowing here.
1H4.
Yeah, it's on page 1 of the memo, under the update portion of that.
All right. Again, we have a motion and it's been now seconded by Carrie. Any other discussion by the board? Seeing none, all in favor, please raise your hand or say aye or both.
Aye.
Opposed? Not hearing anything from the room, I assume it's unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Very much appreciate it.
And I'll entertain another motion. Someone?
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
And a second to that?
Second.
All right, all in favor? Opposed? All right, now we'll guess we stay here for the workshop.
And we'll stay